Welcome back to another flashback review, and as you see from the title, this is a two-parter, or pretty much not much, but two-parter is still a bit too rude. Let's just call it a 1.1, 1.2, and because pretty one has nothing to do with the other, it's just pretty much a compare and contrast between the TV version and the movie version. I'm gonna be doing that a little bit over the next few weeks with the movies that I have saw, as well as the TV show that even came before or after the movie. Then I might as well start off with one of my childhood favorites, one that is in the top three, not 10, not 20, not 5, the top three, and that is The Honeymooners, starring Jackie Gleason, Art Carney, Orgy Meadows, and Joyce Randolph. And I say that particular group because as history know, as people who have grown up with the show and continue to watch the show, they know the honeymooners of that cast who starred in their own TV show. And I say this because the cast have changed depending on what show you was watching. This show is very unique and very fun to watch, and even more fun to look up the history of the show because a lot of people didn't realize that the show has more episodes than what originally was credited for. I'll give you a perfect example. Um, the show started as the Jackie Gleason show. That was the original format, and it was like a short. And the original cast isn't the cast we have grown this show so used to. The show had went through humongous changes throughout that show's history. The show idea became so popular with Jackie Gleason, who, by the way, produced the show and actually picked the cast for that show, that he decided to make it into his own series known as The Honeymooners. And even that, if you take a look at the pilot episode and how the show was presented, there was a lot of things that was that we don't see unless you get the DVD version and actually show some of the stuff they actually shown before the show. Like, for instance, I believe that the show was sponsored by a car company. There was even times where the show announcer was different. That was pretty much the pilot. Then the show got originally the person who would say the names of the show. Um, Even the structure was different. If you look at the Jackie Gleason show and you look at the Honeymooners, you'll see that the structure and the premises was different, and it made for some very interesting and very fun trivia as to what was going on in Jackie Gleason's mind, and also what he felt in his own opinion, why he changed things a lot doing this show. It is very fascinating. A lot of cast members have talked. When they were still alive, that is, about the show, especially Audrey Meadows, who is forever linked as the Alice Crandon. She said a lot of interesting things about the show, a lot of interesting things about Jackie. Art Carney have said about a lot of things about the show. He's one of the guys who kept coming back, and we've been doing the show's final run, which were basically specials. If you doesn't know, there was actually specials in the 70s, and when you watch those specials, it's kind of like weird because you never thought Ralph Crandon aged the way they are, and they are in that age bracket, but it is humongously good. It's almost like they never left. And the thing about it, you don't notice that there's a different Alice or a different Trixie because they actually played it very well. But the show premises was changed, and that's largely because Jackie Gleason, which originally filmed the Honeymooners in New York, moved the show into production to Florida. The remaining production was filmed in Florida, so it didn't have that same. You can actually tell there was a difference on how the thing flowed. I believe the Honeymooners Valentine's Day special was shown, the Honeymooners Christmas Day special in color was shown, and even though you can see that the show have aged, the comedy routine did not. When the Honeymooners had done it, here's a funny thing about this, and I might as well explain this now before I move over. The Honeymooners have aired, I believe, 36 episodes. That's not including the lost episodes, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. And this is only one season. The show was done live. It was no pre-recording. I believe, for what I understand, Jackie Gleason didn't believe in pre-recording. He wanted to be genuine. He wanted to be original. And what's so funny about it, if you watch the 36 episodes, you can catch mistakes. You can catch it very, very clearly. You can catch Art Carney when I think it was the first episode when they got the TV set, and Art Carney is having this big sandwich that was Norton, and Ralph heard the gunshots. It was the Late Late Show. He ran out, and it was so sudden that you can actually see R. Carney laughing and he caught himself quick, but it was evidence that he was actually smiling at that. It was actually hilarious because I was laughing, but most importantly, I was laughing at R. Carney because that was just certainly just came out of the blue, but he caught himself very, very quickly and went back on his role, which is something that I was actually amazed that Jackie Gleason didn't crack up and laugh doing some of the scenes because they were hilarious. And you can tell it was live. You can tell because there was they had a special show about youth. It was about being young again. And the crowd were teenagers. And you can tell by all the crowds there were, you can actually tell that was teenagers. And this was the only episode on record, I believe it was this episode, that the cast broke character. It was the most weirdest thing in the world, and I didn't even realize that. And the only reason why I caught it because it was on DVD. I don't think they ever showed that on actual television. I could be wrong, but I only remember it doing it on DVD, where he just stopped everything. He thanked the crowd. He thanked the young crowd for being there, and it was actually kind of cool. There was also sceneries. This is actual fact. Sometimes when they shut the door or slam the door, you can tell it's on some kind of stage, because when they shut the door, the scene will actually shake when you don't know if it actually will stay together. There was actually a scene. I don't remember the episode. I gotta look at it again. I'm trying to remember it. It's slipping in my mind. But there was actually a scene. I know you guys probably know what I'm talking about. If you guys know the episode or the name of the episode, put it down on the comment section. But it was a scene where you're watching and you can tell from the background. You don't know why the background is moving. And you see the people from behind the scenes trying to hold the background together. I don't know if they actually managed to put it together because the camera moved away from them quickly without actually missing a beat, which is kind of amazing because it was clear as day that they were struggling to keep that from falling, and then you see Ralph and him interacting with his fellow cast members, and next thing you know, the whole scene went back to normal. But that was there. I never forgot that. I'm like, what's going on in the background? Who are these people and what they doing out in the fire escape? And I realized that the set is falling apart. So that actually happened, and like I said, Jackie Gleason, when it came to the Honeymooners, when it came to mostly all the shows, he didn't believe that he didn't believe in the pre-recording stage. Most shows back then in the 30s, 40s, and even 50s to an extent didn't really believe in the pre-recording system. They believe in live audience, and it's not as easy as one may think. And that's something that I think people need to understand. This is what made him so talented. If you see a lot of mistakes, which they are blatantly, you don't see Jackie Gleason get out of character. You don't see him busting out laughing. You don't see him doing it. You saw Art Carney did, but he stayed in full face. He stayed seriously, and honestly, he got Art Carney back into focus because he got into focus, and they went and continue on to. And that takes a very strong skill. Not many actors can do that. I don't think any actors can do that right now unless you have like experience in stage work. It's not easy to do a live performance like that. Many times, and this is a perfect example. The Sound of Music is a perfect example. And I know a lot of people want to bash The Sound of Music as being terrible. I'm gonna say this: it could have been way better have it was pre-recorded. Have a pre-recorded, doing some more rehearsals. And that's a perfect example. A lot of the actors, especially the youngest one, had the jitters. It was very, very simple. When I saw it, I'm like, yeah, she's really nervous. And I think it was unfair to criticize them because being on a live actual stage takes humongous concentration, humongous skills, and it really takes a strong-willed person, an experienced person, to actually pull that off. I'm not against Terry Underwood, but she's not an experienced actress. And although she was brilliant in the music department, when it came to the acting, you can tell easily that she didn't have that experience that it would if a professional actor would have. And that's largely because they didn't have that luxury of recording, going through the rehearsals, going through the high and grind, and until they got that right note. Jackie Gleason didn't do that luxury. He believed in authentic. He believed in being authentic. He believed in being prepared. And nothing more better proven that when you see him perform, he hardly, made bad lines, made a mistake on a line. You barely see him crack up and smile. He stayed focused. He stayed concentrated. And that's a work of a master at his craft. And this is something I actually really did enjoy about Jackie Gleason. He was very, very talented. Even at the Jackie Gleason show, which the Honeymooners came from, you can tell he had a lot of multi-personalities. I loved him when he did the Porso, the guy who claims he was a handyman. And here's another thing is, I'm leading right into the last episode, those characters actually came on this very special Christmas episode. And that was actually my first time was introduced to the Honeymooners because my grandmother have introduced me to it. It was the only time where I can stay up late at 11 o'clock. The Christmas special came on at around 8. It was a very special episode. It had pretty much almost like a 35-minute long episode, and this what happened was Ralph Crandon had to go pick up something. I think it was like something from the butcher or something from the shop. He had to pick up something, and while he's away, you see Norton, you see Trixie, and you see Alice talking. And these characters from the Jackie Gleason show kept coming in, but it was actually Jackie Gleason playing a different role. And what's so amazing about it is, even when I saw it as I gotten older, is that he plays them. You're never reminded that this is the same guy supposed to be Ralph Crandon. He plays those roles very, very good. The Paul Soul is a perfect example of that because when he did the Paul Soul in the Honeymooners Christmas special, he did it so well. He didn't speak not an ounce of words, but you're seeing his facial expression. And his facial expression is just so sorrowful that you do not make the link between him and Ralph Crandon. He does it so well, and again, it's a mark of a good actor at work, where his roles let you forget not only that he's Jackie Gleason, but also the characters that he's portraying almost at the same time. And that's one of the things I admired about him. I admire about him a lot. And that's one of the things that's got me stuck in the Honeymooners. So anytime my mom allowed me to watch it, I was watching it. She pretty much let me watch the Honeymooners. After then, bedtime. And keep in mind, my grandmother was very, very, very strict on time. Bedtime for us, with me and my older brother, was 8 o'clock. No later than 8:30. So the fact that she let me after a while watch the Honeymooners at 11 tells me a lot of things. One, it told me she loved the show, and two, she said she didn't really mind. And keep in mind, this is me as a kid who was enjoying the show, and I found out something else when I went ahead and talked about the show. I found out that other children my age had watched the show, and it was kind of weird that the kids my age in elementary school knew who the Honeymooners were and was talking about it as if we was talking about cartoons. And this is what makes this show, the original Honeymooners, even the lost episode, so damn unique. is that this show had many different entities with it. Yet the first 38 episodes, even the last episodes, are the one people always remember the most, and still is watchable and funny to this day. You can watch this 1,000 times; it still hasn't lost its charm, and and that says a lot about a show. It also says a lot about the actors who played in it. The last episodes, I might as well get to this here, is kind of funny because there's so many episodes to it, and I may be wrong. I don't want you quoting me on this, but for what I understand, Jackie Gleason didn't like the episodes and tried his best to keep it off the airwaves. It wasn't until the mid 80s those lost episodes started resurfacing. That is why it's called the Honeymooners Lost Episodes. One of my memorable episodes, besides the Christmas one, of course, is the one where he was confused for a gangster, and the gangster was trying to leave town, but every time he leaves town, there were people out there trying to bump him off. So you had that situation uh, where where he had to figure out a way to elude his enemies. So his boys told him that there was a person who looked just like him, and um, it was Ralph Cranton, and he was going to make it look like he's going to set it up where he gets bumped off, and so he can be scot free. So it was one of those episodes. I'm not gonna tell you how the ending is, but it's unique. It's kind of funny. But this is something else very unique also about it is that some of these lost episodes never had never had a true ending. That episode that I was explaining didn't really end the way I thought it would end. It just ended. It was just weird. It just ended, and things got resolved. And another episode, which is I think is a classic episode. It was a two-parter too. That's the weird part about it. It was a two-parter. It was the episode where Ralph had bought a ring. Everybody chipped in to buy a ring. I think it was for a friend of theirs or a boss from work, and this ring was supposed to be given to work. But Alice, who was disappointed that Ralph forgot the anniversary, have gotten the ring and thinking it was an anniversary present after spending what could be the most epic fight between him and his mother-in-law, because his mother-in-law was trashing him, he was trashing her. It was going back and forth, and then he came out and said, I almost forgot. You gotta look at this ring, and he never said happy anniversary, but on her mind, she's thinking, this is the ring for me. She puts it on because he said put it on, and once she blurred out, you see, he hadn't forgotten my anniversary. That's when he realized, oh my God. And she's saying all some nice praises, and you see her mother saying, oh, for once you did something right, but he didn't do anything right. He forgot, and that was one of my favorite episodes because I'm like, okay, you just messed up big time. I need to know how you're gonna get out of it. He eventually asked for the ring back after explaining what happened, but it ended pretty much abruptly. The saddest episode, and this is also again from the lost episodes, the saddest episode I will have to say was when he adopted a child. And the reason why is because it really, I will honestly have to say it was, if out of all the episodes I did not like, it was that one. They didn't show this episode too much, and I guess because it was that depressing. And there's actually a reason why that episode exists, because it was more of Jackie Gleason's decision than anything else, because Jackie Gleason did run the show. There is a trivia, and then people asked him, and he plainly Brown said it. He didn't like working with children actors. If you notice, they're rarely on the set. They rarely have any major big speaking roles. And he pretty much wouldn't want a kid being in the Honeymooners. They never had a child, and that was the only time they actually had a child, but it was an infant. And they asked him at one point, and he said, children are the most impossible people to work with, period. And as long as he ran things, he would never have had a child star work alongside him. Many people say that's messed up, but honestly, a lot of the big shot stars back then, and even today, just don't like working with children stars because they're not mentally prepared, and they let fame get to their heads. And there has been evidence proof of that. If you just look up the documentary The Little Rascals and Alfalfa, there were cameramen wanting to kill that kid. So there is actually some truth to it. So being he's a producer, he flat out refused to work with children. But this episode here, I kind of refer. He didn't shoot the episode at all. And basically, what happened is he adopted the kid. He's working hard trying to raise the child. He has no clue how to raise a child. Um, Alice is happy, and the agent came back and said the mother wants his child back, and it was probably the one emotional thing I've ever seen because it was the one time that Ralph looked like he was going to deck somebody in the face, and you can see the anger boiling. And I'm like, oh, here we go, because he immediately grabbed him, and you can tell. And he's speaking to his wife, and he's not happy about it. And Alice doesn't know what to say. Alice doesn't have don't know what anything to say. She's distraught over this. She wants to keep the baby, but at the same time, she is thinking about the mother. And I understand they want to try and bring up a point. I just think they just did it wrong. And it was one episode I wish they wouldn't do. I wish if it was going to do it, I think it should have done more better. I don't know how you would, but it was the one episode that did not leave you smiling. And that's the key. It really didn't leave you smiling. It didn't leave you happy. It didn't leave you with anything else. And there was, and that's not the first time that they actually test people's nerves with this. There was an episode where you thought that Ralph and Alice's marriage was over. It was actually another two-parter, and this parter was Ralph Cran. And this is actually kind of interesting because this episode was actually filmed before an episode where Ralph was giving the wrong advice to a friend who married, I believe, I think Alice's sister. Yeah, Alice's sister. And this episode that was shown as a lost episode was actually before they actually got married. And people didn't even notice it until I think probably later on they realized there's a connection because it's the same kid, same actor. It's the same people, but now, years, moments later, you're seeing them before they actually met, before they started getting married. And what has happened was they saw the friend, and then Ralph wanted to hook this friend up, and he called him on the phone. And he called one girl. He hung up the phone because I don't know. He think he was coming on to her, but he was like saying, what are you doing tonight? She hung up the phone. That actually is a plot device, and I'll explain later. He called Alice's sister, and they able to meet and hook up. Now Alice has got the word about the other girl. She didn't get the word about nothing else. And what happened was kind of funny because it was Trixie who set the bonfire. Trixie was the one who told her about the girl, and Alice knows her man. He knows her husband very well. He said, hey, he ain't worried about it because he ain't cheating on me. He's probably just going to do the same thing he's always do, as always. But when he showed affection, because he said that, I'm a very lucky man. He says this only with Norton. I'm a very lucky man. I'm very happy. And, I'm very lucky to have this woman. I don't deserve her. Let me show her something. Let me for once not be selfish and show how much I appreciate her, how much I love her. Little did he knew that was actually going to be more problems, and he doesn't understand because she's having a distraught. You can actually, the camera is actually focusing on her facial expression, and it's one of those facial expressions. Said, "Oh my God, this is going to get ugly real quick," and it did. This was a two-parter. Eventually, she found out the truth, and Ralph was like, "I love you," anyway, even though he was trying to say, "Come here, come here," but he's like, "I love you," and that was the one time that she actually showing jealousy towards Ralph, because mostly it's always Ralph showing jealousy. This was the opposite, and man, when she was jealous, I said, I don't think I want to see you jealous anymore, because man, you worse than Ralph is. But again, these are one of the many episodes that they had. They had a lot more. Trust me, they have a lot more. But the lost episodes for reasons, and I think it was because it didn't follow too much of the same old formula. But keep in mind, Honeymooners had a actual formula. Um, Ralph Crannon wanted to get rich quick. The reason why is he's trying to provide for her. Ralph Crannon's jealousy swings, his pride, and just basically this couple living day to day in most slum dwellings that you can possibly imagine, because they're all living pretty much, let's call it like it is, in the ghetto. It's just in the 1930s. And those buildings, by the way, did exist back then. It's a very nasty history. Um, when you see the lost episodes, you still see it, but you see more of a social issue going on and a very serious issues. And they're not very laughable issues. Like I said, the one with the adopted child, depressing. This one, you really didn't know how that was going to end. You did not know if their marriage was gone. You really didn't. And I think that was part of the reason why Jackie Gleason didn't want to see those episodes, and he just basically kept them on the shelf because of those reasons. Keep in mind, we'll never know, okay? But at least I will never know the real truth behind it. But it is something of a very interesting piece of history that I always fascinated about because the show is that good. The show is wonderfully done. And the show never ended here. This is where I was, and this actually is on YouTube if you guys want to check out the Jackie Gleason show in color. The show was revived, so was the Honeymooners, and when I saw this show, I was pumped up because Ralph Crannon, Ed Norton's back doing their usual schemes in Skid. And then I saw two other women, and I'm like, who, who, who are they? And then when they said Alice and Trish said, no, they're not. No, they're not. And this is where the transition happened. I think they had three. I'm not too sure, but I think it was three Alice's. I think three Alice's, two Trixies. There was never was another arc. There was never was another Ed Norton, not to my memory, but I know there was multiple Trixies, multiple Alice's, and this was one of them, and it just looked it so out of place. I mean, really, because when you're used to seeing one character does it and does it so well, and this is what Audrey Meadows and Joyce Randall is so well. Joyce Randall is still alive. She's the last, I believe, surviving member of the Honeymooners, and I think she's doing UFO tours, something that I think Bob Hope have done for a long time before he died. But when I saw this, it bugged me out. I said, "This is no, no, you can't, no." Um, Fortunately, I got used to it because one, it was not like a full episode. It was like pretty much a short, the same way they saw um, on the old Jackie Gleason shows. It just now was in color, which wasn't much of an improvement from the black and white. And then there was the Valentine's Day specials, the Christmas specials when they moved to the Florida, and they were fun. The actress who played her that from that one was okay. It was actually fine, and I didn't really notice a difference because they actually did had good chemistry. But overall, the Honeymooners as a whole has a humongous amount of history behind it, humongous amount of stuff behind it. So much where I'm actually realizing that I have to do another episode just on this. So keep in mind, I guess it was supposed to be a two-parter. It's going to be a three-parter because there's something. The reason why I'm doing it like this, gentlemen, ladies, is because of one reason. I am leading up to the actual movie. But you need to understand something about this Honeymooner series that I think that the Hollywood pictures did not catch on. And I'm going to explain it to in part two because I really want to give it a chance to actually. I want to not make this too long, but let me put it this way: there's a reason why, other than the fact that they totally dropped the ball on this property. There's a reason why that movie failed, and yeah, this is not going to be a pleasant review of that movie. It's not. It's no way around it. But there was a reason why that movie failed, and the reason why that movie failed is you got to look back at the history of what made this TV show work and why, with all due respect, you couldn't duplicate this movie. You couldn't duplicate this TV show. There are some shows you can actually get away with it if you know how to do it right. I think the ones that did it right, and I hate to say it because I'm not a big fan of the two movies, even though I will admit the fact they made it into a parody actually worked, was the Brady Bunch. And I say parody for a reason. It made fun of itself. Shirley Long was actually pretty good. But keep in mind, there were a lot of other TV shows that failed for a reason. One of the reasons, and there's a reason why the Honeymooners, the movie, failed, where the Honeymooners, the TV show, succeed. And I'll get to that on the next Flashback review. But until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.